If you were able to look through the perspective of a person who thinks the world is flat, you would see this. The North Pole is right here in the center. The continents splayed out over this plain. And here on the edges, you'd run into a 150-foot wall of ice, guarded by NASA employees with guns.
And how far that ice goes outwards. And when people try to go down there, they get turned away at gunpoint and put in prison.
The heavens are a dome that arcs over the flat Earth. The sun, the moon, the stars, they're all just little balls of light in the sky that move around just above the Earth's surface. There are loads of people who actually believe this. YouTube channels and Facebook pages, you'll see hundreds of thousands of followers. Google searches for the term flat earth proof over time look like this. It's become incredibly popular. And recently a poll showed that only 84% of Americans agree with the statement, "I have always believed the world is round." 84%. And if you're 18 to 24, that's more like 66%, which is like dangerously close to half. What is going on here?
Now the North Pole is the center of a deep ocean, whereas the South Pole is the center of a high plateau which averages 7,000 or 8,000 feet in altitude.
This is frustrating, and what's even more frustrating is every time I try to look into this and understand it, all I see is coverage of like flat earther conventions and like interviews with these people.
We absolutely know for a fact this ain't it.
These interviews are interesting, but I want to understand like how someone with a thinking brain can actually get behind this. What is this actual belief? Where does it come from? And how do potentially millions of people believe that the Earth is flat?
The water is completely flat, for as far as we can see and as far as we've measured, and the horizon is completely flat.
I'm in Mexico now. I've been sitting on the beach reading everything there is to read about the history of people who believe the Earth is flat. And there's one thing that I just had to try for myself.
This is a simple experiment that anybody can conduct to determine definitely that the Earth is flat. Grab a spirit level and take it on the plane with you.
117. Found this hardware store, bought myself a level. Gracias, amigo.
One of the stranger things you've ever done.
And I'm bringing it with me on the airplane. I'm gonna do some of this empirical science myself.
If you are to fly on a non-rotating Earth, please explain what kind of experience will a pilot really have?
The logic goes that if the Earth is round and I'm flying thousands of miles, which I'm about to do, then the airplane will have to be tipped a little bit the whole time in order to make it around the curvature of the Earth.
The plane should be constantly dipping its nose forward in order to compensate for the curvature.
Show me some planes doing this.
I would be able to see the tilt of the airplane if I put my newly purchased level on the tray table in front of me.
I'm going to take my spirit level onto the plane.
If my tool shows me that the plane is totally level,
that's proof that the Earth is flat.
Let's go see what happens. Can somebody explain to me duty free? Why perfume? Why is there so much perfume in duty free? 4 hours on an airplane, and I'm back. My little level experiment worked wonderfully. The bubble stayed nice and center. Turns out the plane was not dipping its nose in order to make it around the Earth. This is explained by the basics of gravity and physics. This video is not a debunk of flat Earth theory. That doesn't need to happen, that shouldn't need to happen. What this is my fascination with the fact that there is lots of people, let's put it this way, a non-zero number of humans who think the world is flat, and they work really hard to prove it. I want to understand what sorts of tools are being used to prove the world is flat. So here we go. I wonder if I can get some really dramatic, like, conspiracy theory lighting going on here. I'm seeing all the evidence. What if the Earth actually is flat? The plane wasn't dipping. The level was flat. Okay, I'm kidding, let's get into this. I've been in the weeds learning about the flat Earth experience, what people believe and why and where it all came from. And here's what I've learned. Number one, flat earthers have become a thing just in the past couple hundred years. So by like 205 BC, you've got these really smart Greek people making experiments that are like observing a globe-shaped Earth. Over the next several centuries, eventually this would just become the widespread thing among anyone who was doing experimentation on the world. And eventually, nobody believed the Earth was flat. Even in like the medieval times, like it was a consensus that the Earth was a globe. So in short, flat earthers weren't a thing during this time. Even though literally in elementary school, I was taught that Christopher Columbus and like his voyage was somehow to prove that the Earth was round or maybe it was flat and that there was like some debate around that. That's actually a total legend and I have no idea why I was taught that in elementary school. How did that happen? I actually am genuinely curious, like how did that happen? The fact is, Christopher Columbus, the Catholic Church, the Spanish patrons, no one thought the Earth was flat. But then, they became a thing. Any sort of flat earther movement didn't actually come around, ironically, until science was really starting to heat up. During the mid-1800s, a huge amount of scientific breakthrough was happening. The scientific method was taking off, and huge breakthroughs in biology, physics, anatomy, and mathematics were taking place. But at the time, there were also people who were becoming uncomfortable with how advanced scientific methods were getting. These guys were like, hold on a second, you have all these fancy new tools to inquire into the world and to understand reality, but these tools are getting like too sophisticated and too abstract and theoretical. They're becoming too disconnected from like what I can see and understand and touch and feel. They wanted to bring science back to what it had been for a really long time, which is that like a person goes out, uses simple tools like a telescope to look at the world and to make conclusions about how the world works. So it's the 1800s, science is like having its time, and you have these guys, usually from like the US and the UK, who want to throw out this growing body of like amazing advancements in science, and they start to do experiments. Here's what those experiments look like. So it's the summer of 1838. England, up in the county of Cambridgeshire, which literally sounds like a place in The Lord of the Rings. So it's the summer of 1838 and the atom had just been discovered and the Doppler effect is like being fleshed out. And then you've got this guy. His name is Samuel Rowbotham, but he goes by the pseudonym Parallax, which is actually a pretty dope name. Like if I were a DJ, I would totally go with like Parallax. Anyway, Parallax decides, even though all this science is happening, he thinks it's time to reopen up the debate about whether or not the Earth is a globe, which was like literally settled thousands of years earlier. But he's like, no, let's do it. And he finds this canal system that is incredibly straight. This canal goes on for almost 10 kilometers, like 6 miles of just a straight line. This guy says, if the Earth is a globe, and people say it's 25,000 miles in circumference, then if I look at a straight line, after the first mile, the curvature of the Earth would mean that the canal would now be 8 inches lower. After 2 miles, it would be 32 inches lower. After 3 miles, 72 inches lower, meaning like 6 feet, almost 2 meters, and so on. So he thinks eventually the dip from the curvature of the Earth would be so great that you could easily observe it. So he gets in the water, he puts a telescope right above the surface of the water, and then puts a boat on the canal with a 1 meter tall post on it. So what he wants to see is if the Earth is curved, if it's a globe, this post will start to disappear over the horizon. So he does it. The boat goes away, it goes the entire 6 miles of the canal, and it stays in sight the entire time. It doesn't dip over the horizon. And he's stoked. He's like, man, I just proved that the Earth is flat. And I did it with a telescope and a boat. Like, screw you, science. Like, I'm making breakthroughs right here in Cambridgeshire. And then he writes this book, where he fleshes out this experiment and several others that he does. But wait, this experiment's like kind of legit, right? Like it adds up. Like his numbers were all correct about the circumference and the dip of the curvature. Like why didn't it dip? Like why was the boat still in sight? There's nothing wrong with this experiment. Parallax got that great name. Maybe he was onto something. No, this is stupid. This is like a 3rd grade science experiment in your backyard. This experiment doesn't take into account how the natural world actually works and how light behaves and refracts based on the different air densities. This is like stuff that people already figured out, and like Parallax is sitting there getting wet in a canal, like trying to observe this on his... No, this does not prove anything. But Parallax didn't want to hear any of this. He didn't want to talk about atmospheric refraction and air density and how light behaves in different media. Too complicated, too abstract. You can't touch and feel that stuff. Instead, Parallax sees science and observing reality as a much simpler task. In his book, he says, "Nature speaks to us in a peculiar language. In the language of phenomena, she answers at all times the questions which are put to her." Just like go out and like put a question to Mother Nature and she'll answer it. As scientific methods become more sophisticated, they become harder for you and me to understand. Parallax and his canal experiments are a reaction to all of this. They are a call for a simplification of scientific methods and a return of the senses as the primary force for understanding reality. He called his method of reductionist pseudoscience the Zetetic method. He says that honesty of thought is to look at truth in the face, not the side face, but the full front. Just look at it, go out and observe it for yourself. He was among several scientists and mathematicians at the time who were on this train of let's use really simplified reductionist math and science to prove that the Earth is actually flat. This argument of the flat Earth flickered for a little bit in the 1800s, gained a little bit of traction, but then eventually it died out until just a few years ago.
I refuse to be another vegetable. Pseudoscience garbage will to me be unacceptable. Anyone with eyes to see don't have to be susceptible. Dispose of your globe in the nearest waste receptacle.
There is no curvature to this Earth. There is no motion to this Earth.
If you just accept the globe model with no understanding of the flat and no clear evidence for the ball Earth, do you see the problem there?
Flat Earthers are back. And their methods are very similar to what Parallax was doing in the 1800s.
And this is data. This is repeatable, observable, measurable.
If you take the time to learn, you will change your mind. There's no doubt. The only reason people think they live on a spinning ball is willful ignorance.
They're still zooming into horizons, but now they have hordes of visual stuff to play around with. They now have airplanes. They now have satellite imagery to play around with. They now have the moon landing to dissect. And now they're taking levels onto airplanes, like I did.
Your plane can't go upside down. Here's the thing, globe hugger.
Like the flat earthers in the 1800s, the flat earthers today want to use their own intuition and senses to understand reality. And in the process, they reject and ignore the huge body of science that we all live with today.
So people that have physics degrees, astronomy degrees, they got their degree by regurgitating what their teacher or the books told them.
Instead of trigonometry and telescopes and canals, the flat earthers today use videos and photos circulated on the internet.
The azimuthal equidistant projection map that the USGS actually uses is the flat Earth map.
Wait, did he just say azimuthal equidistant projection? That's like my favorite projection. Is that the flat Earth map? Don't f with me in projections. I take them very seriously. In true internet fashion, this new current movement of flat earthers has become just a bunch of bumper sticker type assertions and images that are really easy to share. Just like Parallax's experiments, these methodologies completely ignore the way the natural world is observed to work by thousands of years of scientific consensus. But if you go to the FAQ page of the Flat Earth Society, you'll see what they're after here. They believe that evidence is, quote, relying on your own senses to discern the true nature of the world around us. That's the best evidence. And in that vein, that's what these people are doing.
So in the physics world today, do they not understand that convex lenses or fisheye lenses or GoPro add a distorted view?
So, what have I learned from all of this? From my understanding, the Flat Earther movement, whether from the 1800s or today on the internet, is actually not totally about the shape of the Earth. This movement has a much broader message built into it. There's a reason why 1984 is like in the canon of the Flat Earther movement. 1984 has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. What it does have to do with is being skeptical of big institutions that are probably watching you, that are probably controlling your life, that are probably feeding you bad information to retain power.
We're not crazy, we're just sick of the lies.
Here's the thing. Most of the knowledge we have about the natural world and the universe, we've never seen. We've never seen exoplanets or the deep space telescopes that tell us so much about our universe. Instead, we read about this stuff. We benefit from its findings. We pay our taxes to fund more of it. Science is like a tall tower, and each individual researcher and institution adds a little brick to that tower, each brick resting on the one below it. No one person sees or understands all of the bricks. Instead, we have a system of debate, review, scrutiny that only allows the most accurate information to be added to the tower. And honestly, I don't think humans are well suited to adapt to this very impersonal way of understanding the world. We have evolved over millions of years with our senses as our main driver of survival. And now we live in a society that is run by big systems and impersonal institutions that we will never touch and feel, much less understand. And that's why we have people who believe the world is flat, despite conclusive evidence to the contrary. This belief is a proxy for a much larger paradigm that mistrusts anything that you can't touch and feel. And so yeah, I'm really sad that only 84% of people can say with certainty that they've always believed the world is a globe. And that's 64% for younger people. Only 64% of people. Like that just blows my mind, and it's incredibly sad. But despite this belief, this movement, these conventions, this total lunacy, science will continue to do its thing. It will continue to go out, observe the world with these amazing tools that we have, come back, debate it, and add to this tower of knowledge that helps us see the world as it really is. I want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is this amazing giant repository of online tutorials where you can learn everything you can imagine, from photography to design to illustration to character animation to filmmaking to entrepreneurship, all the things. And you get unlimited access to the entire library if you subscribe. You get 2 months free to Skillshare if you click the link in my description. You should check out this course on the fundamentals of photo editing. Photo editing is truly a craft, and with a little bit of training, you can dramatically change how your photos look and feel, both from just simple mobile photography all the way to advanced professional photography. Having these fundamentals in your toolkit will help you make better images. So click the link in the description to sign up for 2 months for free. Like, you literally don't pay any money for 2 months. You can test it out and see if you like it. After that, I think it's like less than $10 a month if you subscribe to the yearly, which $10, like $10 to have access to this giant repository of tutorials is like a no-brainer to me. So I love Skillshare, I love internet learning. Go check it out. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll be back soon with some more stuff. See ya.